kills me, guys.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Comms Girlies podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Victoria.
I'm Anna.
I'm Charlie.
And today we're going to be discussing the culture and media. In this last podcast, we talked about a lot about culture and religion, and not culture and religion. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I guess they kind of go hand in hand sometimes.
Yeah, religion and media. And yeah, they do. They both go hand in hand because like,
I mean, I feel like your like values.
No.
Your values from your like religion, I feel like can
Play
sometimes
into
play
culture.
into your culture,
Yes.
right? Because like
Totally.
I have definitely adapted some things from religion into my everyday life, which I consider
Same.
culture a little bit, right? Because I feel like culture has multiple different definitions of,
Totally.
you know, because it could be like where you came from, which is normally like the first thing you think of, right? But I feel like it's also your like values as well,
oh yeah, totally.
you know?
Yeah, and it's like, it's super interesting how, you know, like your religion can become a culture or anything that is so widespread, like media. Like, what are like the most common apps? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X. I don't know what it's called
Yeah,
anymore.
whatever it is
I have no
now,
idea what it's
right?
called anymore. But because they're worldwide platforms, like, an idea...
so much
An
information.
idea can
yeah.
change, like, can just get shipped off so fast. And, like, yeah, like, with TV, too. You can watch, like, different countries, different kinds of versions of a show. But I feel like as, like, things are becoming more readily available and, like, more in our hand, like, I can see what's going on in, the, like, Ireland right now, you know?
Right,
Like,
yeah. And, like, you wouldn't have known any of that information, right? And so I feel
Totally.
like, you know, media is a really good place where you can get information, you know, so that you're more aware of what's going on in the world.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity, which is really cool. But yeah, like, there's also, like, culture, like we're talking about, like, last time. There's culture at BYU.
Oh, yeah,
We were
100%.
not expecting some of that
Yeah.
culture.
Like, I
right?
knew, like, there was jokes like, oh, people who only talk about the church 24/7, or people
Yeah.
who, you know, like, just, like, I thought it was just, like, extremes. Like, people are just trying to be dumb online about it. But I come here and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But sometimes it's
But
real.
it's good.
Yes,
It's
yes.
real, but it's good.
Yes.
'Cause it's good to have, like, that mix of different people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because we all learn from each other. Like, I feel like at BYU, there's a great mix of people from all over the U.S.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's cool to see, like, what, especially because other people too, like, a lot of the students at BYU have served missions, whether it be in the
Yeah.
States or foreign.
Yes, so
Um,
true.
I mean, like, any mission really is a foreign mission because it's not the place where you're from.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, all these different, like cultures from where you grew up, but also cultures from, like, where you've lived and served, and, like, all these things just mix up, and it's just, like, wow.
Right, and I think
Yeah.
I remember hearing somewhere that, like, BYU is, like, one of the top campuses for people who, like, know the most languages, which I
Really?
think is really interesting. Like, I mean, it makes sense from all the missions,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's just so cool because, you know, we're able to, like, have the opportunity to go out and serve people, but, like, also understand their culture. Like, I have
Yeah.
friends who are, like, in places really close, like Arizona, but then I also have people who are in Peru or, like, Argentina. I have a bunch of friends in
Yeah.
Argentina right now, and they're like, it is so amazing, and, like, the faith of the people here is so awesome, right?
Yeah.
And there's, like, so much positivity there, and, like, their culture definitely plays a really big part into, like, how they live their life,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think, like, in class we're talking about what shapes culture. And it's, like, the vernacular, right? Like, how people talk, what people say. Like, I served in Wyoming for,
Oh yeah.
what, 10 months of my mission? And I, like, there's some things, like, growing up, I'd say, like, the plant has roots. There is a roof above my head. It's, like, hurting me to say these words. Or I fry chicken in oil. But, because I was around them for so long, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you fry chicken in oil. You,
That's crazy.
you want to help me dig up the roots? Or the roof has a lick? You know, like,
No.
down by the creek? Like, just because, like, it's just shaped. And, like, I'm from California. Like, I'm from the beach. Like, I don't say,
Yeah.
like, I say, like, what's up? Hey, girl. Like,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Like, I lived in Jersey for 8 years, and so it's very different because New Jersey, like, especially in my area, there was, like, at my high school, I think there was, like, 4 Mormons, including me. Really? So there was, like, barely any. But, like, the way that people talked was, like, way different. Like, a lot more people used curse words in their everyday. But then when I moved to Utah, like, people use freak.
Yeah.
Or frit.
That was a new one for me,
flip.
too.
Yeah, or
fetch.
Fetch. Like,
That's
it's
the one that
very,
got me.
it's very new. And so when I heard people say that, I was like, what on earth are they saying
Or
to
have
me
you heard
right
people
now?
say, like, what in the BYU?
What on earth?
Yes!
Wait,
Yes!
say it again?
This guy was
What
like,
on the-
what in the BYU is that?
That's crazy.
But it's like, as Mormons, like, as people, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, let me correct myself. We come up with different sayings because, like, we don't
you
want
have to adapt and
curse.
adjust.
So, yeah, so, like, I will say, like, what on green earth, or, like, holy moly, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'll just go, like, out of my way, I guess, and just come up with different sayings. But, like, in New Jersey, no one ever said that. So when people said that here, I was like, what are they saying to me? Like, this is a foreign language, I swear. I was like, at first I was like, dude, people who say freak are weird.
Yes. And I've kind of morphed into
But
that
I'm like,
person.
I'm kind of like that person, because sometimes I'll catch myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, what?
It's so influential, especially
yeah.
like when
Yeah.
you're around it, like on the daily,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know. It's like interesting because like we also
Oh boy, he's partying.
Wow.
BYU culture.
okay.
People on
BYU.
motorcycles.
Seriously.
gotta get that date somehow, right? Ring by spring.
That's another one.
That's
Also-
another thing.
But that is another thing about culture here too.
Of
Yeah.
dating and marriage.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, my best friend in New Jersey, she's been dating her boyfriend for 4 years. But, like, here, no one dates for that long and decides to get married.
Or very few.
It's 4
or
days.
very, very
4 days.
Yeah, it'll be like a month or 2 months, and then they're like, okay, let's get married. You know, like, it's very, very
but
different.
it's fine because that's how the culture is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, other people who aren't in that culture, they're like, oh my gosh, like,
Y'all
you're
are
all gonna get
psychos.
divorced or something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
believe what you want.
And it's like funny too, like how because we have these apps, like these social media apps are readily available, like we're able to see like these different things. Like I remember like before I came to BYU, I heard about these Utah girls who don't curl their hair all the way. And they have these giant Stanleys. No offense, Charlie.
I know. That's what the phone's propped up on right now. I will say I have
Stanley.
turned into a Utah girl.
It's okay.
Sort of.
I feel
I just
like
have
I
a
have
Stanley. That's literally it. Like,
It's because you're around it. It's the culture.
Yeah.
It's what shapes culture.
seriously.
But yeah, or the bows in the hair, you know, like
Yeah.
and like because of the media, these things have become like memes and stuff or like
Right,
jokes.
trends.
Yes.
But
and-
then like these jokes evolve into like actual real life trends, and
Yes.
it's all over. Like I
Oh.
remember for Christmas, like being on TikTok and seeing like, or like on Instagram Reels and just seeing all these people like Christmas haul. I got 5 Stanleys. Like
no, like, have you guys seen the Utah Fit Check?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they'll grab their pants and they'll do the
Stop
flory
it.
thing.
Uh,
People on, like, well, my feed, people would be like, what on earth is the Utah Fit Check? Like, I've never even heard of that, but I'm like, in Utah, that's like a huge thing. Like, most people know about it, you know? So it's like crazy how like a lot of people who aren't in Utah don't know, or like how girls in Utah, they curl their hair but they don't curl the ends.
Utah
like,
curls. How
exactly,
that's a
or
thing,
soda and creamer.
oh yeah,
Like, that's
like
a
now
huge
you see
thing.
Coffee Mate just dropped their dirty
Yes.
soda.
Yes.
Yes.
because
influencing other parts.
and it's spreading
Crazy.
and like yeah, like Utah or whatever trends are spreading to places in the U.S. or even outside the U.S. Like think about things that are like normal to us in the U.S. Like I don't know why it was just a random burst of just like TikToks on my feed about these people in like London,
Oh, okay.
and they were like, come with me on my trip to America to try Canes.
Yes.
Or this one chick was like, she posted about how she like had a dream, like she had saw Canes on her For You page a bunch, like people eating it and stuff, and so she had a dream about it, and she woke up so sad because she lives in London and she had, or like in England, and doesn't have Canes there, and so she's like, I feel like I tasted it, like, you know what I mean, like like we need to have this here kind of thing, and like not just like food stuff, but like really any idea, like switches from like folk, like I guess this is kind of weird to say, but like Canes is kind of like our folk culture a little bit.
No, or swig.
Or swig. And then it becomes like this big thing out of the US, and that's where it becomes pop culture.
Yeah.
Like this whole soda, like Coffee Mate's new Dirty Dr. Pepper. Was it coconut lime creamer?
Yeah, and Coffee Mate's huge.
It's
brand.
huge, yeah. Like,
So,
that's, like, I think it's international.
They got
right?
inspiration by Utah? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But, like, what you were saying, like, in New Jersey, they don't have Swig, they don't have
Yeah.
Cane's, they don't have a lot of fast food places.
California even, yeah.
Yeah, like
Or
we don't
in
have
New-
any soda places
Are
at all.
in Utah, and so like my two best friends came down this past summer, and I was like, "You guys have to try Swig," and they're like, "What on earth?" Is
I've
that?
had my friends say
and
that
I was
too.
like, "It's
yeah.
soda, like it's a soda shop because like there's no like barely any coffee places here. There's like Dutch Bros or like Starbucks,
Yeah.
but they're not like
Big.
huge as
Yeah.
like Swig." And so they're like, "What? You guys just have soda shops?" And I was like, "Yes," but now they crave it. Like
Yeah.
they'll text me and they'll be like, "Charlie, I want Swig," and I was like, "Come to Utah." Like, you know what I mean? It's like that's
But then,
crazy.
like, these, like, small businesses, right, they start here. And
Yeah.
they become, like, Crumble.
Huge.
What? Crumble's
Crumble.
headquarters is down the street in Orem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now it's this huge thing. Like, I remember when they first opened up a Crumble near where I live in California, and, like, it was, like, bonkers. The lines
Yes,
were crazy.
I had a friend who worked
And
there.
now, like,
yeah.
then I left for a year and a half, and I came back, and then there was literally, like, 6 Crumbles within, like, the diameter of, like, in the radius of where I live. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or that like In and Out, they opened one in like Arizona or something.
Yeah, or
and there
Colorado, too.
Or, yeah, and there was like a huge line. And so I'm like, that's crazy how much like other places get influenced because when one thing comes so popular, every place is like, oh my gosh, we need that, you know?
Yeah,
so
and
it's,
like social
crazy.
media is spreading that too, right? Like people are like you're saying, like she heard about Cane's through social media.
Yeah.
And like I definitely feel like there's this other guy who was like he was like British and he was like, you guys, I understand why people from the US like don't travel like outside of the US, right? Because there's so much within the United States.
Literally.
We're like a mixture of like a
We
whole bunch
have
of cultures.
Disneyland, but we also have Dolly World.
Right, like
Yeah.
like what
It's so wild.
Yeah.
like what? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like honestly kind of crazy.
But it's kind of like, I don't know, almost like dangerous how fast culture can spread. Like,
Right.
things
Oh, yeah.
come from, like, you know, just like our community, our small community, to like statewide, to national, to international. Like, now it's like, I feel like there's so many different things. Like, people are almost like losing their home culture.
Right,
Like,
it's just kind of
yeah.
all being mixed. You're saying.
I mean, yeah, like there was like if we go back in history books, right? Like the Western world and like westernizing things, like
Yeah.
from third world country to like first world country kind of vibe. I feel like that's happening again, but with culture instead of like technology and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of social media.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, like, are we starting to, like, lose what we once had, you know? Like, are things just, like, being, like, that's a big concern I've had,
yeah,
is, like, okay, like, I don't know, someone somewhere else, like, in Africa, for example, like, they see TikTok, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, soda shops and Stanley, like, you know, like, curled hair, like, it's, like, that's a big thing. And then they lose, like, whatever they had down there.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
like
everyone's
a
trying to become
horrible
one
example,
big thing.
but, yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Like, people are, like, for me, for instance,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
you're like I'm like half you talking
But
about.
like, I never even knew what Stanley was until I got to Utah, and then
Yeah.
like I saw people on campus have them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I never came to Utah, I would never have a freaking Stanley. But it's like I that was
Yeah.
a terrible example.
No,
I don't
but, like,
use that.
it's like the cultural convergence.
yes.
It's like, it's nice, but it's also dangerous.
No,
And I feel like the same thing with like fashion.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Oh
it's
my
just
gosh.
cycling. You know,
Yes.
it's cycling because like the scrunchies became a thing a little while ago,
And
right?
now they're gone.
And now they're gone. And now what is it like bell bottoms now?
Yeah.
And it's like
low rise jeans
low
are
rise-
back.
The 2000s are back.
I
Like,
was shocked by that. I was like, low rises? I remember wearing low rises, and then it went to high rise, but now like low rise is coming back in. I was like, that's crazy.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
trends are just going like in cycles. You know,
It's like so bad to where, like, I was looking back, like someone was talking about it, about how back then, like in 2020, like trends were so like we would have like a TikTok sound, or we would have a style that would last
Yes.
like 6 months, and before the next trend came through. But now it's every single day there's something new,
yes,
and
I
it's
agree.
like
things only last for
I
a
think
week.
they're calling them micro trends now.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
so-
I've heard of that,
I've
yeah.
heard of that. Yeah.
because it's just happens so fast and then it's gone. Like, it's like I don't even know.
Isn't that wild how fast people can just be like, all right, we're done with this. Like, let's move on.
They're like, oh, it's cool.
You know?
Not anymore. Let's find something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Their attention to it is gone. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's honestly like so wild to me.
Yeah. But, I mean, kind of like with religion and media, you know, we can choose to give in to culture or all these things, like all these new trends and stuff. Because sometimes culture and trends goes against like what we believe.
Yeah.
feel
That's
like-
true, yeah.
Like, a lot, like sometimes like there's, I don't want to bring politics into this because that's not what the vibe is, but like there might be like an idea that's like, oh my gosh, like talk about it. Like all of a sudden all these people are like hopping on this bandwagon and it becomes
Yeah.
like a real thing, and then it's like, okay, wait, that's not actually what we wanted.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like, you know, just having one idea and putting it out there has so much power.
It is.
You know,
yeah,
it's
totally.
honestly like
Especially with media.
media.
Yes.
Yes. Because it's like we were saying, like worldwide. But it's honestly like kind of a crazy thing.
It is, yeah.
But
thank you so much for listening to this episode. It's kind of everywhere, but
Yeah.
that's us.
that's
you
our
know,
thoughts.
That's our thoughts.
That's our
you know?
thoughts. So
Yeah, tune into the next episode where we will be talking about what are we talking about?
Evolution of the media.
Yes, what's in and what's out. But see you then. Bye.